Imagine an environment, a time and place, where a below average guy can pull this. This would be the love life of a below average man here. I'm talking March 1st, 1870 in Paraguay. The Paraguayan War had just ended. Paraguay, of course, is a small landlocked country in South America. The Paraguayan War, or the War of the Triple Alliance, was the bloodiest war in South American history. The Triple Alliance was made up of Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay. All the blue there was the Triple Alliance, the red there is Paraguay. So why would three countries like that with much larger militaries than Paraguay decide to have war with Paraguay? Well, because this guy, meet Francisco Solano Lopez, dictator of Paraguay, who inherited the power from his father. There were border disputes at the time all the time, as there was independence popping up from Spain and Portugal. But in this case, there was the neighbor to the east, Uruguay, which was going through a civil war. The civil war had two factions, one that was pro-Brazil, one that was pro-Paraguay. The pro-Brazil one won out, which irritated Solano Lopez. So he decided to declare war on Brazil and Uruguay. Didn't really work out. See, to get to Uruguay, he would have to put his military through Argentina. So he asked Argentina if he could march his military through them so he can get to Uruguay. They, of course, said no. They weren't going to let some other military march through their land. So they, of course, declared war on him because he decided to march his military through Argentina anyway. So there you go, three countries declaring war on the small country of Paraguay. Did he give up or surrender? Of course not. No, he would draft as many men as he can, everybody. 90% of the male population in Paraguay would perish in this war. So it would leave a ratio of, in some cases, 20 men to one woman. Most cases, like 4 to 5. But in some cases, that high. That even you could get a girlfriend. An absolutely brutal war. I'm talking about Brazil at the time had the largest navy outside of Britain. Uruguay and Argentina all had formidable militaries, and all were just absolutely tearing up Paraguay. Now, there's a lot of this was swampy terrain, so a lot of disease, a lot of infection, a lot of people died just from not even on the battlefield. But it was brutal in battle nonetheless, as they were outnumbered, outmanned, outgunned on all three sides. So this wasn't going to end well for Paraguay, no matter how they sliced it. This was a war there was no way they were going to win. But of course, this guy just wouldn't give up. Francisco Solano Lopez was drafting people as young as like 8 years old, 9 years old. Very elderly men, guys who couldn't even walk, were being drafted to go fight. It was that desperate. And he was running and hiding as they invaded Paraguay. And he was running at will and trying to get away, but it didn't really work out as he eventually was caught up to by Brazil. And there he is in his final moments, surrounded by the Brazilian military. He refused to surrender, instead charged at him, was shot and killed. His son was also killed shortly thereafter. His wife was with them, and unfortunately for her, at gunpoint, they forced her to bury her husband and her son with her bare hands, which signaled the end of the War of the Triple Alliance, or the Paraguayan War, the bloodiest war in South American history, where roughly up to 500,000 people died on all sides, with at least half probably of the Paraguayan population, but 90% of the male population. So polygamy became a common practice in Paraguay in order to repopulate the country. So, and it was very common for a man to have 3-4 wives or 3-4 girlfriends on top of his 3-4 wives. There was nowhere else to go. Even Catholic priests, men who had sworn to celibacy, were having to get on the action to repopulate the country. Generations were destroyed, and because of this kind of dynamic, a lot of misogyny became commonplace for Paraguay to this day. But there you have it. If you can't get a girlfriend, March 1st, 1870 Paraguay, that's the place for you.